I absolutely think that the big brands, whether they're high-end or high street, should be using their platform to address this, and quickly. It's not a high-low issue. There's slightly different problems at both ends of the scale, but this really needs to be addressed in a completely holistic way by the entire fashion industry. Yes, high-end brands can be problematic in their own way. There's been lots of calling out of those brands about burning stock, for instance.
Burberry is maybe one that was probably the the heat was on for them. They were completely chastised by their consumer group. And see, that's a great example of the consumer really striking back and saying, you can't get away with this anymore.
I'm trying to make my company a model for things that people really like to buy, that make them look wonderful and even more wonderful human beings than they are when they're naked. That's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, so this is one reason why I continue to do my work instead of close down, because of course we have to do something about our carbon footprint. And this is, if I tell people buy less, choose well, make it last, save, don't have a big carbon footprint, buy few clothes.
You know, I think we overproduce on every level. You know, if you know, even the luxury side end of clothing is doing too much, I think.
Okay, please come in here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can't sacrifice your style for sustainability. I don't think that it's a viable option for the world in which we live in today. People want beautiful, luxurious, desirable clothing. They want to feel fashionable. They want to feel, you know, they want to feel great in what they're wearing, and at the same time they want to save the planet. Now, what brands do you go to for that? I guess you can only come to me for now, but it's really important to me that you shouldn't notice that what I do is more ethical than other houses. You should just love it and want it, and then that makes it, you know, the desirability means it comes into your life, and it means that other businesses have to change.
I mean, I think she's definitely a pioneer, and I think that they have the honesty to admit that they're nowhere near anywhere in a sense, which I find very, very refreshing. But as I said, Stella McCartney is, you know, a large brand that operates somewhat traditionally. There is a multitude of smaller brands that are operating very untraditionally and who have embedded sustainable design thinking from the very start.
The fact of being sustainable, it's not only the age, it's the fact what kind of work and how you pay your workers, which is the part of the work involved. But we never had the problem of sustainability because we are sustainable. We produce in northern Italy.
I believe that sustainability is also sustaining dreams, sustaining that sense of creativity.
Very much aware of. I was just coming from a presentation. Whenever we plan something new, we really put sustainability, no, I cannot say on the forefront because this would not be the truth, but it's one of the important factors that we try to deal with.
Gucci is probably the most recent high fashion designer label that would be making a stance on something. And so they want to go carbon neutral by, I believe, 2030. And so we're seeing, you know, these announcements, right? But we want to see, like, you know, firm commitment.
We stopped doing ready-to-wear a while ago and focused on couture, because couture is, like, to us, like a laboratory for ideas and a place to experiment, and not just experiment with new looks, but also with ideas and approaches to, like, fabric. How can you make a fabric in a different way? And this collection in particular was geared to, yeah, it's like research, really.
But in a system, but again, with this in mind?
With the idea of sustainability and the environment in mind, yes. We don't have the answer, but we can try to find ways, new approaches.
One of the most important aspects to sustainability is the idea of quality over quantity, is buying smarter and better but buying less. And that's very much what we're about at Herrera. We're about beautifully making, with the finest craftsmen and the finest fabrics, a dress that you will have and feel great in, not just for one day, but for decades, and that maybe someday your daughter will take and have a great time wearing as well. That's really the key. It's about how we consume and what we consume.
I'm not creating for, you know, immediate buy like this, and after you know what I mean, and you throw it. And no, I'm not in this philosophy. I like when the ladies keep their dresses forever.
We've always tried to make clothes that were sustainable because we want our clothes to last for a long time and to not be thrown away and not to be, you know, used for a short period of time. They should last for a long time. So we make sure that our clothes are very sustainable in that way. And then as a designer, you also try to do everything you can to make sure that the auxiliary things, the makeup is sustainable. It's all natural. I only use natural skincare, so does Mark. We're trying to make all of our packaging totally recyclable or biodegradable or compostable.
I'll never let you go when I'm with you. It's so free. I could count from 1 up to 99.
I wanted to also ask you about sustainability in fashion. Is that on your radar at all?
I'm just going to be fully transparent. It's really not. Okay. I mean, you know, it's really interesting. I was at a seminar one day and this woman was, you know, she was all about sustainability and keeping the environment clean. And she asked me, in what ways do I utilize plastic? And I had to think about it for a second. And then I thought about it and I said, oh, okay, well, we use plastic in packaging. I could definitely say that since I've left that seminar, I've changed my ways in terms of how to do packaging. You know, when I'm shipping to customers or shipping to consumers or retailers, I'm definitely not using plastic anymore. I've made an effort, you know, but it's not something that's been 100% on my radar in terms of my fabric choices. You know, Laquan Smith, I'm building I want it to be a luxury household brand, so you know that does mean utilizing the source of leathers and you know sometimes fur. You know this is on the rise of being an American glamorous brand. So I am not afraid of being able to say that you know those are some of the luxury fabrics that I enjoy using, and so does my consumers.